This video is about TortoiseSVN and how I use it when I'm modding. I use TortoiseSVN to prevent from losing my work. It's a easy way not to have to back up your files constantly. Once you've downloaded and installed TortoiseSVN, you can do the following steps to set up a repository. I'm going to set up a repository in a repos folder in my G drive. It's an HDD drive. I'm going to create a folder with the same name as my Black Ops 3 folder. And then I'm going to right click it, TortoiseSVN, create repository here. There's some options, but you can click OK. At this point, it's created these files. You don't have to look at them. Just know this is a repository now. And now I'm going to check out. And I'll put the file path to that repo and click OK. Now here's a folder with a green overlay. Inside is this hidden SVN folder, which holds all the information you need for this repo. So I'll take this folder and paste it over top of my Black Ops 3 folder. And now that hidden folder is in here. And these items are available to be added to SVN. Now, I'm not going to just add all my folders to SVN. That would take a long time, and it's just unnecessary to add all these files that I don't need version control on. So if you didn't notice, this isn't my real root folder for Black Ops 3. This is, and you can see I have a few items with overlays. Those are items that I use Tortoise with. Even within the folders, not all of them have green overlays. I pick and choose just the custom things that I want version control with. So the way I do that is, well, you can just add it and it'll pop up a window, and it'll take some time to find every single thing in that folder, and you can go through and uncheck things that you don't want if you like, but that takes a little too long for me. So what I do is temporarily rename a folder, add another one back in, and then just add that folder. You see, add just that folder, and then when you want to commit something to SVN, you can put a note saying added. You don't need a note if you don't have it set up that way. And now that I've committed it, it has my green overlay and it's part of that SVN, meaning that I can delete this and tell it to TortoiseSVN update, and that folder comes back. So I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to rename this folder back. And now just this folder, take a second for my overlays to update, is a part of that SVN. None of these files are, but that folder is. So now I'm going to pick and choose which folders I actually want to add. Let's start with this one. I don't want to add all this information. I just want to add my scripts to SVN because I want to be able to keep backups and compare. So I'll do the same thing again. I'll temporarily rename this and then make a new one. And then I'll add that folder, that empty folder, commit it, delete it, and rename this folder back. Alright, see the green overlay? That means that's part of it. Now at this point, we can simply add the entire scripts folder and choose what I do or don't want to include. I'm going to include everything in my scripts folder. It's going to add everything, and then I'm going to commit it to the repository. Okay, so why am I doing this? Why did I do that? All my files are there. I can delete this folder and then hit update, and it all comes back. You can delete an individual file, hit update, and it all comes back. You can't lose your information this way. So I'm going to open this file here, and I'm going to change something. I'm going to save it, and now it's red, indicating that there's been a change. So I can revert that file to the last commit, and you'll see the change that I made is now gone. Or I can compare it with this TortoiseSVN diff, and that will show me the differences between my last committed file and my current working file. Once I've made changes that I know are good and I don't want to lose that progress, I'll just commit again. And I can add a note here for myself so that if I'm ever going along and I get too far ahead and I want to go back and look at a time where I did something, there is a log, show log, and you can go back and I can actually open the individual files at that time. That's this file here. We can open it. We can show changes. We can revert it back to this. We can just save it out. Using this tool will stop you from ever losing your progress. These are scripts, but you can do it for your map files or your mods or your models, or anytime you want to keep track of what you've done. You want to keep a working version of what you've done before you try something, or if you just want to keep something just in case it could accidentally get deleted or corrupt, you can add it to SVN and always have a backup, always have that file. So I'm going to do it again for my map source files. I'm just going to quickly rename it. Map source, I'm going to add a map source folder. Added. I'm going to commit it to the repository. Delete it. Rename this folder again. Okay. Now I don't want to add all these. So I'll do the same thing with this folder. Add, commit, delete it, and rename it back. Alright, now I can just add the files that I want to keep track of. Let's say this one and this one. I'll add those and commit them. Now, no matter what happens to my map files from here on out, I have this version that's good. The map file could accidentally be deleted. and I can just hit update and bring it back. You don't have to do the rename, add a new folder, commit, delete and rename back if the folder doesn't contain a lot of items. You can just simply add and then deselect all and choose that folder, and it will just add that folder, and then commit just that folder. The reason I do it that way with the rename and add and delete is because if you try to do that with a folder that contains a lot of files, it will most likely crash Tortoise and not be able to add. The renaming is just the way I get around that and not have to deal with that. You can see that it's very easy to do it this way as well. And then I could have also just chose which one while I was in there. One setting that you want to make sure you have unchecked is a checkbox when you commit. And that's this one right here, show unversion files. If you go to commit a file with a tremendous amount of files in it, it will do the same thing as it does during the add. It very well could crash, and it's just annoying. So make sure when you commit, you don't have that file checked, and then every time you commit any file, that won't be checked, and it won't bring in all the files that aren't in version control, that aren't in your repo. This specifically happens if you try to commit your entire root folder. You see how long it's taking. If I were to show all these files, it's locked up. Now it could eventually work itself out. It just may take a while, or it'll crash and show a report. And the way I was doing it is just a way around this, not to have to deal with this. And here I've waited, and it actually did crash this time. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. It opened up this link here where you can report it. It was my fault. Just don't do that. So just either on the very first file, or if you forget, go to a file without any subfolders or anything like that, go to commit and uncheck that. Leave it unchecked and everything should be fine. So to wrap up, files with the green overlay are part of SVN, and files without it are not. So these are not protected. These are. These files here are not. These two are. So just because the folder has the overlay doesn't mean the items in it are. For example, if I were to delete this, oh, this is part of version control. I'll just update that again. It brought back my folder, but nothing is in it because they were not part of version control. They did not have the overlay. If you see red indicating a change, you cannot revert to this current version until you commit it. So if you delete that file, you just lost any changes that were from the last commit. Even if you update it back, you see that change I made is gone. That can be good or bad. So that's about it. If you have any questions, let me know. If something happens, you don't know how to handle it. If I didn't include something in the video, uh, let me know.